Okay folks, I listened to my other video using the headphones, the cans as we call them. It sounded pretty good. It was about the best sound that I think I can get. Lorraine, lay down. Boy, is that sharp. It hurts my one remaining ear. I woke up Monday morning and I was just totally stone cold deaf in my right ear. I can feel the sound better than hear it with the right ear, and it was my good ear, my better ear. And I'm down 10 decibels more in my left ear, so I am in dire shape. It's been that way this week. I've been to several medical appointments. This appears to be an offshoot of my recent, I don't know what to call it. She's a predator. That's all there is to it. I've also put out calls to my people who would understand and know more about this stuff, because I want to find out what the hell she used on me. I want to find out what drugs, what poisons. It might help. It might do nothing. I wanted to tell you about a vision I had a long time ago. You know, I don't like talking about the visions because they're kind of overwhelming. I can't explain them fully, but at this point, you need to hear these, and I need to dump these out as fast as I can, because we don't know how much longer I can communicate. And one of my visions, and this is from a long time ago, I saw a fleet of ships, flat black ships, triangular shaped, in the air, in formation, hovering on what I think were the solar winds, way up there overlooking the earth. And these craft had smiles on their faces. And at the time, I had found out that we had Sentry. Now, the concept of Sentry kind of scares me, because there is a hound named Sentry that guards the gates of hell. In old mythology, Sentry keeps us trapped in hell. But yet, these magnificent birds, they were big. I would say there were 3 in formation, 1 lead, a wingman on each side. They were above there looking over us. Year of the vision, 87, 86, 88, somewhere around there. And it perplexed me to realize that we were being watched over, and there were ships sailing up there silently and quietly, way up above. The view up there is magnificent. Now that's the clean vision. I've been to other territories, other lands, other worlds. Kind of scared me. And one of those, it was men and women dressed up as knights and damsels. The old florid garb, the old, I guess I would call it romantic, because we're talking big puffy flowery sleeves. We're talking magnificent clothes that are hard to maintain and keep. So only the upper echelon, the royalty, would be able to afford fine raiments like that, probably handmade. And not only that, you probably got to have a bunch of slaves to clean them for you. This is a disturbing dream, and it was on the verge of perversion. And these men and the women, it was daytime, broad daylight, not in the night, not in the darkness at all. And they would partially disrobe to expose their privates to each other. And to my amazement, they had genitalia that were assigned to them, so to speak, that were not expected. In other words, the men, the knights, had vaginas, and the damsels, these ladies dressed so finely, had penises. And they would perform oral sex on each other, and they seemed to know that I was present. And it was disturbing me greatly, because I'm like, I'd never seen anything like this. This is years ago. This is before the inverts, before the transgender movement of today. And they enjoyed freaking me out, because I think they could see me, and I think they were enjoying how petrified I was, because it's like, doesn't make any sense to me. This is bizarre. This doesn't make any sense to me. So I had that vision a long time ago. Another key vision, and this I remember, November 1986, because it just was a very putrid, gross vision. And I was down in the south part of Anchorage where the marshes were. And I was where the flats were. And the flats are kind of magnificent. They're big, muddy flats. And the ideation, the thought process, was worms, parasites. I need you to understand me cleanly and clearly right now. And I met a woman in a very awkward situation. And she was big, she was heavy, she chain smoked cigarettes, which make me, I'm an ex-smoker, cigarette smoke makes me deathly ill. And she was chain smoking, and she was not an attractive woman whatsoever, not in her spirit, not in her physique. And she was lighting up the cigarette and chuckling and laughing and telling me, it's the worms. It's the worms. It's the parasites. It was like this very unattractive female was telling me this incredible secret, this incredible wisdom. And of course, I'm standing there kind of with my mind twisted out of its right space, out of time. And here she is, lighting up her cigarettes on the wall. And I'm not in a place I want to be. And I don't like it. And she's chuckling away, telling me, it's the worms, it's the parasites. So I need you to understand what I believe this means. They've been killing us with worms and with parasites. Recently, a medical doctor came forward within the last month. I saw the video, and I can't remember if he was a neurosurgeon, a neurologist, or what the hell he was. But my adopted Jewish mother, Beatrice Rose, who took me in when I was having some trouble with my own family. I miss B. She died of a blastoma. And by the time I saw her, she was too far gone. She wasn't quite herself, and she got agitated and upset very easily, a little bit like a child. And I didn't want to upset her. I loved B so much. And her partner was there. Man, he was a tall guy. Very liberal sorts, mind you, but still. She lived down in Earthquake Park in Anchorage. And B had a blastoma, a cancer of the brain. It's caused by parasites. They don't want you to know that because they don't want to treat you for the parasites. They don't want to cure you. Also, we know that all cancers in men and animals, according to the medical doctor who was head of the World Health Organization 2 decades ago. He was the lead author. It was like 5 scientists, 5 major authors. He's the lead author. He's the head of the World Health Organization. And he said, the opening line of his conclusions, we now know that all cancers in animal and in man are caused by mycotoxins. In other words, poisons produced by fungi. Yeast, mold, black mold, other types of infections. And if you remember the movies where they were worshiping the tree of evil, if you will, in the garden, I'm talking about, what was that called? It was a magnificent movie. That was the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil in that movie. And that's what they worshiped with the mushrooms. You need to understand, Adam kind has a very strict diet in the Bible. And we're not allowed to eat certain things. And I don't know if it's merely symbolic, but I do know that when I looked up how to avoid mycotoxins, it said don't imbibe in these mushroom-based drinks that I was using. Don't eat the mushrooms. There's more to it than that. The place I've been spending a lot of time has got a fungus throughout the land, and so everybody develops that. Everybody gets valley fever. It's just a matter of time. So this is not a safe place. I've been here too long. I have a friend whose wife is not doing well from it. And there's a pathway in the body which needs to be cleared out so that your body can detox from the fungi, from the molds. And that is the bile system. And so you have to help that and speed it up. And if you don't have the gallbladder, like I don't have, then you need to take some supplements. Not much. You just have to get that pathway started so the body can start taking care of itself. So this is another way that they're killing us. And your medical doctors are gatekeepers, keeping you away from life, depriving you of it. That is their job. And I sit with these guys and I tell them the damn truth, and I figure they're writing it down and they're going to write me off as a nutcase because I say this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not the one committing murder, you know? So I recommend that you get these the detoxing going, and go at it slowly, especially at my age. We have to go slow. The guideline I got today was use EDTA once a week, which is not very often, but it's hard on the kidneys, and that's where I'm weakest. And it will bring your blood pressure down amazingly so, like you won't believe. And you cannot tell which metals you have in you. They won't give you tests unless you're on the verge of being hospitalized, which means they won't give you the treatment either. So you're better off going outside of the medical system and buying it yourself. It's not expensive. That young lady stole my EDTA suppositories. I got almost all of them back. I keep forgetting to use it because I'm under so much stress from so many different angles at one time. A friend of mine wrote me an email and said, we were sent here to help you folks through this time. Yeah, she's right. She's right. I guess if there was such a thing as the X-Men, the real X-Men, it would be she and I. So we're a couple of frickin' mutants. We're aware of things, and we know things, and you don't. And the problem is you want to go after the messenger. That's right. You'd rather kill the messenger than face the reality. It's just the way it is. Even my own family wanted me gone. My sister said she wanted me dead. And she said everybody wanted me dead. I don't know if she's being truthful about that or not. I really don't care. I am the oldest Kent in this family alive today. And I plan upon outliving the rest. Now, I'm trying to tell you what you need to do so you can recover from these illnesses that have been... Ooh, I gotta be careful. YouTube got upset when I said engineered into society. Well, they just happen to exist right now, okay? You need to understand, my fellow psychologist told me all psychologists should be put to death. And I looked at him because I'm at the dinner table there with a sister who fixed a fine meal for us. And I just dropped my jaw. And he said, "That's right, John. You and I should be put to death for what psychologists have done to this nation. We've done a lot of harm. We've been instrumental in her takedown. Now, my job was to go to the dark side and to learn all I could and to deliver said knowledge to you. I know one of my visions, young man in a motorcycle jacket. Good looking guy with blue jeans on, motorcycle jacket. And he's telling me, and I'm an old man in this vision. I am an old man in this vision. And he tells me, the other said, you went deep into enemy territory. And the other said, we'd lost you. He says, I told them that I knew better, that we hadn't lost you. And I looked at this young man who I didn't recognize. And he said to me, you taught me. I knew you'd come through. And then he showed me. He had a tattoo on his abdomen, on his chest. I don't remember it real specifically. I didn't write this stuff down. These are disturbing visions, dreams, nightmares. And he had on it what looked like an iron cross. It did not have any broken legs on it. It was pure four-pole, like the carbon atom, like all life is based upon carbon here. And I don't remember if it had the broken legs or not, to be honest with you. I don't remember if it had the symbol for being in motion. But I asked him about that because it was like, what the hell are you doing wearing that? You know, whose side are you on? Whose side am I on? What are you doing wearing that? And he kind of chuckled. And he says, people get really angry when I tell them what it means. Oh, yeah? And he told me, it's the asshole of a spirit. That's his exact French. It's the asshole of a spirit. Now, I need you to think about this a little bit. Don't panic. It can go in either direction. In one direction, it is the asshole of a spirit. The same symbol is used as a name for Buddha. I know. I was there on the big island of Taiwan. My future mother-in-law and father-in-law took me on a ride with my bride-to-be, their daughter. No, it didn't work. and they gave us a tour. And I really appreciate this man. I really wish I could have hung out with him more and talked with him more. His wife, she didn't like me very much. Father told me that I seemed to be very nice, but they just wished that I could speak their language so they could talk to me. And it was a little bit more intense than that. But I went before that Buddha, and I bowed to the appeasement of my fiance's mother. It was a sin. I didn't understand that. But the nice thing about being at the base of this giant Buddha on my knees was that I could see what you call a swastika. And that symbol was used a long time before. Well, I don't even know if I want to say his name because they don't like hearing the name Adolf Hitler, but it was used a long time before that party. And that was not the Nazi party. That was the National Socialist Party. You see, they never called themselves Nazis. They called themselves National Socialists. And it was a fellow named Conrad, and I don't remember his last name. It wasn't Johnson. Conrad Hilton, Honig, something like that, who coined the term Nazi right after the close of World War II, and it stuck. And it stood for an amalgam, according to Eustace Mullins. And he worked in the Library of Congress until the FBI evicted him. He actually slept in it. He got all those manuscripts, and he got to read those, including those that never made it to the shelf. They were censored right out of the National Library. Eustace says, NAVAGE stands for the amalgam of the National Socialists with the Zionist International. And they have a coin that commemorates that union, and I've been meaning to buy one. They're rather plentiful. They're copper coins. On one side it has, well, I'll call it the Star of Remphan, since that's what the Bible calls it. There's other names for it. The people today like to claim it's the Star of David, and there never was a Star of David. And on the other side was that Iron Cross, which could mean several things. And it's symbolic for life on the planet with carbon and its 4 poles. And you see, they want to destroy and eradicate the carbon here on the planet, which is just a code for telling you they want to destroy the surface of the earth and all inhabitants. And before you go, nobody would think that, Dr. Kent. Nobody in their right mind. I need you to understand something. They aren't anybody. They aren't people. They're another species. There are at least 35 different species of humanoid on the planet. And my kind were placed here last to rescue the rest. That's right. And they want to genocide us because we are all that's standing between them and the rest of the planet. And the sad thing is, these evil guys look just like us. Now, please hear me out when I tell you about dragons. Because in their Oriental literature, I qualify as not just a dragon, but a dragon's dragon. I don't reveal that to you lightheartedly, lest you convict me of something I haven't done yet, or you accuse me of doing something or being something that I'm not. From what I can tell, there was a big war in space, and Michael, the captain of Yahweh's fleet, prevailed and drove the evil ones to the surface of the planet. Giant ships, massive ships, really big, and they were driven to the earth. That's where things kind of started. And my guess is it occurred approximately 6 Earth Ages. My guess was 50,000 years ago. Teacher Ray, who represents James Wigstrom, who I've got mixed esteem for, says it was 70,000 years ago, and I think it could have been 72,000 years ago, because that fits in to the very beginnings of 6 Earth Ages ago. Now, how do we know this? Because of the Chinese records. And by the way, the Mongoloids, Pastor Paul Burnham insisted we call them the Chinamen, but I prefer to call them Mongoloids. The Asiatics were here first. They've been here the longest. And there are subtypes of them, that's for sure. And so in their written records, they have a word for us, white people, Caucasians. And it translates literally white devil, white devils. So that's what they regard us as, white devils. Where did that come from? Well, according to Pastor, man, he talks so rapidly. What was it? Swift. Wesley Swift. Man, was he riveting. According to Pastor Wesley Swift, the white dragons were Caucasoids, and they were tall ones. They were taller than we. They were giants, and they were plaguing the Mongoloids. They were cannibalizing on them. So this is like the bad offshoot, the bad seed. And we know, according to Wesley Swift's accounting of the Chinese record, that they were here, predating upon the Chinese, eating them, to the point where the Chinese created their religion worshiping the dragon around these white giants. And I'm just going to take a guess, we're talking 7 feet to 9 feet tall. You know, a man of that size would have tremendous leverage. He could break one of these little Asiatics with his hands pretty damn easy. And to this very day, they prospect over there in Asia for dragon's teeth. Why? Because they're looking for the giants, and they want the teeth, because the DNA is preserved inside the enamel best from what's left. And those teeth are worth not the most precious substance on the earth. Why? Because the fallen ones eat that so they can strengthen up their old DNA and keep their typology going and get stronger. So they're very expensive. And of course, the Smithsonian's been destroying the dragon's skulls, destroying the giants. Whenever we find them in this continent, they were like here, like you wouldn't believe. The burial mounds in Ohio contain giants. There's a cave in New Mexico that contains giants, 7 to 9 feet tall. And they have paper mache type skulls, so a little pebble would really be able to take one of those guys out. So if you wonder how a sling will work on one of those, it just caves in the skull very easily. This was the white devil in the to the Chinamen, to the Orientals, to the Asiatics. And by the way, the Mongoloids were not that tiny there in China. They were good size, 6 feet tall. They're a little bigger than what you think. Our Navajo are descendants of them, are an offshoot, as are the Athabascans in Alaska. They're not petite and tiny. They have some meat on their bones. They have some size to them. They also have some other things in common, like they all are, for some reason, are just incredible on horses. They love horses. Horses love them. And they also don't get along, in case you're wondering, which is how we got the Athabascans in Alaska. They got pissed off at their brothers, the Dene, down in Navajo area there up at the Four Corners, you know, Arizona, Colorado, Mexico. And they got up angry, and they did what the natives do. They left and excommunicated the others, and they went up to the interior of Alaska because they loved it. It was so beautiful, and apparently they wanted to stop there to begin with. So they returned to their home in Alaska that they had seen that was so beautiful. I know. I worked in St. Mary's in the interior. It's not the Kuskokwim River, it's that big river. You would think I'd remember these things, but under conditions of stress like I've been, I forget these things. And most of you don't know the Kuskokwim. You know that, or the river. It's that big, that important, goes all the way into Canada, and the salmon that are caught on that river have got like 30%, 33% body fat when they start the migration, and those are the king salmon you want. Those, we don't get any of them. The Japanese buy them all. They love those. Oh, you can't cook it over an open fire. The fish has so much oil in it, it'll explode, man. It'll just, it'll burn right up. They had a bad experience with the first Caucasoids. And then they also recorded in their books, oldest books, not quite the oldest language, mind you, but the oldest books around, very extensive records. They kept pretty doggone good records. And they said it was, that's when the black woolly-haired ones showed up. And they say that the white devils brought the black woolly-haired ones to the planet as slaves. They came from Sirius. They came from a twin star solar system, and we know this because some of the Africans will tell you they come from a solar system and they had 2 stars. So that's important to know. They remember where they come from, baby. You might feel sorry for them, but at least they know where they come from. White folks come from a couple places out there, including Aldebaran, which is a real planet which has been destroyed, and including in the a star in the head of the constellation Taurus, and also in the belt of Orion in the Pleiades. And I think it's the third part, the lower part of the sash, that star. There's a few stars lined up that come to us as if they're one. So we're all foreigners. We're all visitors here. We were all placed on Earth from other solar systems. So you could say that we're all illegal aliens. We're all invaders. You could say we're fallen angels. I'd rather not think that way, though. Because the bad guys are really bad, with different DNA, different skull shapes, different amounts of cortical mass, different amounts of brain matter, built quite a bit differently. Don't think like you or I do. They are super predators, and they're bent upon destruction. They're the ones that we have to take down. Yes, if we don't take them down, then life on the planet is going to be over with. We cannot coexist with them. It is our job to seize control of this planet with the help of Yahweh, the Holy Spirit, and do it according to His will. That includes making sacrifices of ourselves, though. Now, Yahshua did it. He said, I lay my life down and I pick it back up. Now, I don't know if we can just pick it back up. It's beyond my pay grade right now to understand that stuff. But what I'm trying to tell you is that these guys have been killing us with their heavy metals, tubal cain. That's the tradition that comes down through. Yeah. They've been doing it with heavy metals, and they've been doing it with parasites, and they're not going to stop until we stop them. That is all there is to it. This is not a rebellion that we're in right now. We are not rebelling. It's a war of self-defense in which all life on the very earth is in our hands. Will we rise to the occasion? Will we read the Bible, avail ourselves of it? Will we build the Holy Spirit? I guess in a certain sense we're all going to become Jedi Knights, because it's a fine balancing act. You do not get that power, you don't get that power unless you've really been refined, unless you fight the good fight internally, unless you die to yourself and hand yourself over to the Father's will, just like Yeshua did. Yeshua was the example, man. He pointed us to the Savior, Yahweh. Even some of the Indian songs sing to Yahweh. Yeah, I know. A lot of you think, no, that's Red Man. That's separate from us. Oh, hold on, baby. We have to help them. They have a lot to teach us. The wise women are fabulous, man. Not that a woman should be instructing a man, but she will give you a missing piece or two, and she will ask you to help her in a certain way because she knows you can do it. And if you do it, she is going to help you. And the women, the Native American women, got together with everyone, and they made an announcement in their ceremonies in the teepees. And I think this was around 20 years ago. And they said, the wise woman said, and all of them were in agreement, meaning they were all having the same dream, the same vision. We had a dream in the future, and our white brothers were no longer there. You need to understand, they are like the canary in the coal mine, sounding the alarm to us. And right now, it's very much in vogue to talk about white genocide. And the dumbasses who talk that stuff mostly are just cannon fodder, not realizing that they're going to be gone just as well. And in the Bible, in the book of Jeremiah, is encoded the end of us, the end of the Israelites, the end of Adam and Adam kind. If ever my ordinance should cease to exist before me, meaning if ever the laws, which are the laws of life, I know they want you to call it the Ten Commandments so you might rebel against it, right? Or have a knee-jerk reflexive reaction against it, failing to recognize that when you do that stuff, it gives you blessings, it gives you life. Yeah, they've turned things around in so many ways it's not funny. Here I am, an advanced Bible reader. And I have to tell you, there's times I have to just say, I don't know shit. There's times when I call my brothers and sisters up and they can't give me the answers, and I'm out there going, I'll pray, and it'll come. It'll come. What do I want you to do? I want you to be aware of the fact that this is a medical, military, industrial complex bent upon genocide. It's always been that way. Don't kid yourselves. They have a monopoly on it, but they've lost their grip. I don't trust Trump. A lot of you act like he's God or the Savior or something. I think he's closer to the Antichrist. Do I want him in office? Not really. There's a woman named Patricia Wheat in the Carolinas, and I don't want a woman for president, but she understands things so well, and I've watched her grow. You want your nation back. You want your country back. You want to preserve your inheritance. This is our home. We are in the promised land. We don't go back to the Middle East. We can't fit in that little postage stamp of a country. We're where we belong. This place was planned for us. And Yahweh's planned some really evil for this world. It's my belief that if I can get you to repent, if I can get the word out enough, and you repent, He won't hit us so hard. More of us will survive. Because right now the earth is so dirty, we're so sinful that we deserve whatever we have coming to us. I would appreciate your prayers. I've had to reach out to people that are not in the upper echelons of society for help, so I can understand this criminal action against me. The police are not going to be any good from here forward. They're just placeholders to pretend that things are in order, and the only people they're going to go after are the easy ones. They're not going to risk their lives. They're not even going to bother to enforce the laws that put them in any harm's way. So you no longer can find a police officer. My fear is that you won't be able to find a fireman. And of course, after what happened in Maui and in Loving, California, and what's going to happen in Phoenix, Arizona, the firemen can't handle that stuff. You'll wish you could find one that could do that, but they can't. These evil ones have weaponized everything against us. And I know you want to say it's just a spiritual warfare, or God doesn't really exist. Okay, let's assume God doesn't exist, right? The other party believes their God exists. And they're acting upon that. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill you. They've been killing you. They've been killing us. So tell me, what does it matter what you believe? What about the reality in front of you that they want us all dead? They want to reduce us. Oh, and by the way, you know who the bad guys are. I don't think you can touch them. But if you can, it's an act of self-defense. It's not an act of rebellion, and it's not a criminal act anymore, because you will be defending yourself and the rest of us. Like the days of the judges. And everybody back then went their own ways. They forgot Yahweh, and they would suffer. And the prayers would go up, and Yahweh would give them a judge. Some judges were female. Most were male. Read those stories. There's knowledge there. There are lessons there. There's inspiration there. There's motivation there. Read those stories, because what we're dealing with today makes all that look quaint. The world's biggest gun is where there's not supposed to be any guns. It's been there for quite a while in South Africa. Antarctica. The southern Antarctica. It's quite a gun. It's not Raytheon. Let me think here. Who is it? Oh boy. Lockheed's gun. And your Congress funded it. The damn gun, as far as I can tell from the distance, looks like a giant telescope from what I've heard. And they fired it to show it off and show the Congress we need more money for our gun. And it caused an earthquake. A little country called New Zealand. I guess Congress wasn't impressed, because they requested another test. And the same place, by God, had another earthquake. Yeah, they have the ability to bust up continents. They have the ability to deliver all kinds of payloads anywhere. They have the ability for instant transport. They have the ability to time travel. They have a weapon that takes you out of this time zone and puts you in another time zone and then brings you back, and it scrambles your molecules, your body parts. It's an agonizing death. And I know you'll all want to worship Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Sorry, man. He was a wannabe. He developed this technology and these weapon systems for them, and they try to pass him off as some magnificent guy who wanted to give you free electricity. Oh yeah, he wanted to give you electricity, all right up the ass. He developed the weapons. Oh yeah, you're going to be seeing them at some point. They'll be going right across the sky. It'll be so fast. They can shoot down pretty much anything they want to at this point. Like they took out 370. What was that? I think they took that plane down. They made it disappear in the middle of the air. Now, maybe they sent it to another time zone and transported everything to a safe place. Doubtful. They don't care about human life. They are not human. They only look like you and me. That's the sad thing. They frame us up all the time. I had another vision that was pretty horrible, so I thought I'd give you a nice ugly one. I was walking barefoot in the winter down the road, and I heard gunshots going off everywhere like it was the 4th of July. And fathers were taking their children out, their sons in particular, and destroying them in their yards like rabid dogs, putting them down. I walked. It was a horrible walk for me. I don't know how many miles I walked that way. It was winter time. Well, it was technically fall, but pretty close to winter. I had no shoes and no socks on my feet. And I just was totally petrified. The guns were going off everywhere, in every house. You need to be able to defend yourself. Ladies, I'm going to do a gun review on my own personal gun. I don't like doing that. But it was stolen from me, and it's out there. That's the gun you want to get. It's very effective. It's easy to shoot. It's accurate as can be. I like to brag I don't miss with it, but I do. As I get older, I lose some of that coordination. I lose those skills. They're perishable. I want you to subscribe to my videos. I want you to buy my Bibles. Get NAVAGE so that you can wash out those toxins. They're spraying us not just with heavy metals and several different kinds. They're spraying us with all kinds of biologicals as well. So if you can wash the poisons out before they get embedded deeply in you, you're going to feel better and you're going to do better. It's a method of defending yourself. So go buy NAVAGE. I know I got a link there so you can save yourself $20. I don't think anybody's ever taken me up on that, but go ahead and do it. It's supposed to give me $20 off my next order, but I'm sure there's some fine print they haven't told me about, but that's okay. I would just like to see so many orders go in on my name that those people call me up and say, would you mind representing us? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Sure. Then I've got another biofarm, little little business out of Arkansas. And they're wonderful. And their product is helpful. And I tried to represent them, but I think they're only going to give me a link and give me like a 4% commission. I told her, no, it's not worth it. You know, I need about, well, a third is the standard commission on sales, but I'll go for 25%. But I really don't want to see the price go up just because I hawk it. Yahweh takes care of me. I have to have faith in that. Of course, now I'll get tested because I know that my bank accounts are going to get taken down to zero probably. I am fixing up my home, my bus, to travel the country. I have been blessed with a very fine rig. It's, compared to the last one I had, this is opulent. But I'm still trailer trash. But this is like a castle, like a little palace on wheels. It's almost indulgent, but it's so much easier on me than the last rig was that I just wish I had gotten this right from the get-go. Of course, at the time I started doing this, these rigs were going for big money. Still a lot of money to maintain. So pray for me and bless me. I hope that my videos are a blessing for you. We have a lot to learn from each other. One of my supervisors was a magnificent man, Chuck. Oh man, Chuck, I can't remember your last name. We went to the same university. He was older than I was, and he got luckier. He took some classes with some of the greats that they had there as teachers that I should have done. And I missed out a little bit, but Chuck said, everybody has something to teach us. That's what his teacher, the one I missed out on, that was the main message. So when I run into anyone, I do my best to try to learn what it is they're going to teach me. We all have that value. We need to talk to one another more. I know that. I think we're going to hear rumors of war, not real war. But if we do have real war, then so be it. We're actually in a real war. It's been going on for, I think it's been going on for 72,000 years. But most certainly through this entire Earth age. And Earth age is 12,068 of our years, of our trips around the sun. And every 12,068 years, the Earth gets whacked with space dust from the sun. That's the bottomless pit. And the Earth accumulates mass during these periods, and when the sun goes off, we grow even more. It knocks us off kilter. It is a horrible time for everything on the surface. And as a result of the increase in mass, the Earth's vibration changes. The length of the day and of the year, those change as well. At one time, we were going around in 360 days. Now we're at 364 and a quarter. And after this next change, we're going to be 100.5% of current mass. That's the estimate. That's going to slow it down quite a bit. So we'll probably have a little bit longer year. Maybe we'll do a 365 and a quarter is what we are right now. Maybe we'll do 366. Or maybe it'll just increase another quarter of a day. I don't know. You who are young listening to me, some of you will be here to find that out. My prayer is that we end up with the Savior which will be a surprise to the evil ones. That's the risk they're taking. And maybe we get spared. Maybe we have a divine Passover for our home, the earth. If not, it will proceed to be recycled as it gets recycled regularly. I will be approximately 94, 92 years old when that occurs. Wow. You also need to know that there's some mysteries I've been looking at that are just pretty astounding. Like the years that Adam and his immediate family lived, in contrast to our years, and in contrast to what are known as the tall whites. I don't think I really want to meet a tall white, but I think I'm ready to. I mean, I get along with most people. The tall white can be very violent under the wrong circumstances, but if it's meant to be, and they like it hot, so I just might go out that way and hang out. That's going to be pretty damn scary though, because they like to come out at night and they like the heat. I don't like the heat that much, and I really don't like hanging out there at night. But and I know that the places they're at are military installations, and we can't go there. But I know that there are big creatures around the planet, and I can point you to a little creek off the Kuskokwim River, and the natives don't go up there because that's where the big feet live. And they leave them alone out of respect. Yeah. We got some beings on this planet that are pretty amazing. They don't show themselves very often. And they're in charge whenever they do. Like the island out in, was it Antioch, or there was another island out there? There was a cave. Whatever was living in the cave came up and destroyed the heavy equipment. You know, Caterpillar D, whatever the hell those bulldozers are called. I'm trying to get you ready for whatever it is you're about to experience, and I'm about to experience. I'm trying to get you ready and to loosen up your mental conceptions, to get rid of some of these chains that we've been living in, so that you aren't too freaked out and paranoid when you're finding out the truth in these new things. Our government is nothing but a bunch of liars and thieves and murderers. We don't have the government our founding fathers gave us. That's circus put on to keep you and I entertained so that we won't rise up against the evil ones. We're going to beat them, and they know it. They didn't execute their plans fully the way they planned on it. Whether or not we can applaud Donald Trump for that, I don't know. I prefer to applaud Yahweh for it. I think Trump is one of theirs. I think his family is one of theirs. I think he's putting on a good act, a good show, like he's the master of ceremonies. Or he's Barnum of Barnum and Bailey, putting on a show for the aliens. Who knows? Maybe they're tuned in, and maybe they're betting upon what we do. Maybe they watch this surveillance system, and they gamble. They wager among their friends as to who's going to do what. Maybe that's what's going on those giant ships on the bottom of the ocean. And then you have ships up above. And we're right in between them all. Yahweh bless you. Above all, may you bless Yahweh.